Yo, Calvin. Happy
What's up,
Wednesday,
Sean?
dude.
Yo, yo.
I'm not gonna lie, dude. We've switched our times now to like this 1 p.m. slot. I'm really happy about it. I'm
Me
still
too.
I'm still drinking coffee. Like I have to get over this and like work on this
Yeah,
problem because it's now a
yeah.
problem.
We originally had the early time schedule because we were like, you know what, we're gonna get our times correct, but we never did.
I
So
used to yeah, it used to be I used to be up. I used to be up at that time. That used
yeah,
to be like, oh,
yeah,
I was already up like a couple of like an hour or something like that
yep,
beforehand, and now
exactly.
nah, not
Yep.
happening.
But today, yeah, I woke up kind of late, got some good sleep in, but then I realized I had not done our homework that we're supposed to do for this podcast, and our homework was to play Poppy Playtime.
Oh my god, are we gonna play a video game? Are we
We should.
are we playing a video game?
You know, it
Is that
was
what we're
nice.
doing here?
We played a game that we're pretty unfamiliar with, and
Yes.
we did our little analysis of it and talked about it. But why did we choose this game in the first place? Is that when I was talking?
Zoomers know it.
That's
And I
right,
don't know anything about it. It's when all the Zoomers are playing.
exactly. I was talking to a 12-year-old kid, and he mentioned one of the games he was inspired by that got him into game dev was Poppy Playtime. And I was like, I just nodded. I was like, yeah, yeah, totally. Because I had heard the name before, but I didn't really know much about it. But yeah, horror games. Kids
Kids and
love it.
horror games.
Roll is one of the top Roblox genres. Five Nights at Freddy's, of course, really spawned it. So yeah, me and Sean were like, you know what? We are really out of touch. We know our psychological horror
Yeah.
games with fog and stuff, like Silent Hill, which we also want to get to. But
Yeah. Also
let's
haven't played since I was that age as well too.
exactly. So yeah, before we go into our analysis, let's just do a quick background talk about what we do about horror games. So for me, it's very simple. The only horror game I really played was Resident Evil 1 remake on GameCube or HD version or whatever
Damn, that's
you
the
call
only
it.
one?
Yeah, it is the only one. I do not
Holy
like
moly.
horror games. I don't like jump scares, and I don't like horror movies. So,
Interesting.
I probably had a very different experience than you did about this game.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah, I was dreading playing this game, but I do it for research. I do it for you guys, so I can analyze this.
Yeah, no,
But yeah,
absolutely.
how about you?
I play a lot of horror games. Horror is one of my favorite genres over the
Wow.
years. I actually really enjoy the independent game side of horror genres. If I mean, we talked about this like episodes and episodes ago. We were trying to highlight some games on itch that we really liked. And I pointed out like one or two different like kind of demos, like that not really even demos. They're full fledged experiences. They're enough to be something. You know what I mean? And I think that there's just so much that you can do to really, there's something about really like bouncing the player's head against the wall as hard as you can and really turning them, their psychological state on its head that I love, right? Like and there's techniques and there's triggers and everything else, and we always talk about jump scares and everything else in between and how overplayed it all is. But a true psychological horror game really can change your day, can change your attitude, and they frame well. Like when it works, dude, it works well. And what I notice is that sometimes you don't need a lot. It's less is more in this
Yeah,
side of things. It is less is more sometimes, and I appreciate that greatly. So Alien Isolation is one of my favorites. I play that on the offside, and I'm about halfway through the game. Fucking love it. Oh my god, and it freaky deaky, absolutely freaky deaky. Um, but it's one of those things where you're not going to play all the time. You're just not going to jump in and go and play all the time. But it's when you do get a good one, oh my god, do you get a good one? And I think we got a good one. Other than, do we just want to jump right into it,
yeah, we
or
can
what?
jump into it. We can
Okay,
talk about it. Yeah,
because
yeah,
here's what I want to ask you.
yeah,
You load into the game.
yeah.
What happens? Come
Okay,
on, that first. So should we set the scene, right? What's the first room that you load into?
Yeah,
And
and
this
this
is
is
spoiler fucking
it
filled,
is
right? But
exactly
we
this is
will talk,
completely spoiler filled.
and we're not just
If
going to talk about the game. Hopefully, we'll talk about some of the techniques and stuff like that as we
exactly,
go in.
exactly. So if you've been dying to play this free game, don't watch this. And
Absolutely.
but
You
yeah,
should definitely play it. People should play it.
yeah. So you load in, you do the launcher, and then you get a cutscene. The cutscene actually crashed for, or it was a black screen for me. It
Yes,
didn't
same,
work.
same,
Uh, okay, I
exact
feel
same,
great. Yeah, I
exact
was like,
same.
is it my ultra wide monitor? I don't know. I had to restart the game, and then I just skipped the thing. So I have no idea what that was. But then you load into a dark room. No, no, I I'll talk about this later. But yeah, you load into a lobby. So
Yes.
yes,
So we're loading into this lobby. There's
like a real lobby, not a game lobby, like a
no,
physical lobby. Yeah.
like a physical lobby for like a manufacturing plant. There's 3 rooms basically, right? Dead forward to you. You can see some background. You can see this big heavy door, big handprint, and you're like, okay, I know the game. I've seen the trailer. I know what's going on. I know what I need to do with that. Like that's what I knew. I had enough, scope of like what's the thing that you get, right? What's the main like interaction with the world?
Oh, okay. I did not know it actually, so
Okay.
I was pleasantly surprised. But keep going.
Okay, no, that's fine. So I did at least know that part just because I think it's like it's in the trailer. Or you watch
Mhm.
if you know some of the things there. Left is a room that is see-through door, so you can see into the back. You know that there's more, but there's a keypad, and it's a color-coded keypad. The other room to the far right is a like gift shop that's been kind of trashed. So to set that scene, right, you have just these 3 little elements, right? What are your thoughts on progression when you walked into this room?
I I thought, okay, so first off, when I was moving around, especially in the right room, there's a train track that moves around, and that heightened my anticipation of the jump scare because there's sounds going on, and I was pretty nervous moving around there, but I did get confused. I was kind
Yes.
of moving back and forth, and then I started to stop paying attention to the threat of jump scares, and then like looking around, kind of like the witness. And then I eventually, after maybe 10, I don't know, 6 times moving back and forth and trying the wrong thing, I realized the train is the clue to punch into the keypad. And when I did that, honestly, my thought was like, oh, this is a real game. It's not
Yeah.
just, yeah,
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
that was
Okay.
clever. That was really clever. I was really impressed with that.
So, do you want to hear my experience?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
and I did record the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
This like early on onboarding. I get in on I'm full anticipation. I'm going around the place. I'm just pressing E on everything that I can.
Are
I
you
s-
nervous at all? Or are you
no,
just like,
no,
whatever? Oh, you're
no.
not. Okay,
I'm
nice.
not nervous at all because I mean, one, I have no reason to be nervous. I also know that it's the start of the game, so this is like an absolute, just like the first most basic puzzle. This is like the
Yeah.
anticipation point, right? This is like a point to set the scene. It's not necessarily a
Right.
point to like drop you directly into like the masses. I think if they dropped you directly into the masses, you don't have this like onboarding tension moment of like you need some time in the world to settle into the world, and I think that that's what those rooms really do for me.
This is
But
when you actually play horror games. You understand the patterns and you understand. But I had no idea. And eventually I was like, you know what? They're not going to jump scare me because a casual player would just quit if with like no
ab-
suspense at all.
absolutely, with no
Yeah.
suspense at all, they would just drop you out, and it would be way too quick, right?
Hmm.
For me, I go and I look at it, and I'm like, okay, I see the keypad. There's going to be intermittent puzzles within this game. Okay, so now we got to see about the complexity of the puzzles. So we're starting off, and we're starting off at level 0. That's what I'm expecting. Now, as I'm going through like my, like a lot of the times, horror games don't give you access to all of the abilities that an FPS would normally do, right? So I don't have any hands. I can't see my body. I don't know, what I can do. So I find out that I can jump. I'm like, okay, this is big. You go into that gift shop room, and they have like 2 pillars. They have like a window at the top right hand corner, and I'm like, is this a jump puzzle? Do I have to?
Yeah,
Do
yeah,
I have to jump on things?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Calvin, I shit you not. I spent 20 fucking minutes jumping, dude. I spent
Yeah,
20
yeah,
minutes jumping on shit, trying to get up
yeah.
on top of the train track so that I could walk the train track around because I know I can crouch, I know I can jump. I see a window, it looks open because of like whatever the shaders and the textures and everything else like that. And I'm like, that's where I gotta go, right? That's where
Yeah,
I gotta go.
yeah.
So I instantly forget that it's a colored fucking pad, completely and utterly, and I just
Yeah,
get lost. I am
yeah.
completely lost. So here's the best point: I did not fucking put two and two together with the train. I didn't. I didn't at all. I may have gone and looked at a walkthrough
Oh, this,
video.
dude, this is so fascinating. I love the different approaches to this. And I have been thinking this whole time, especially later on. I was wondering how a kid really does approach this game
Oh
without,
god, yeah.
if they can do it without a walkthrough. Because I will say, and I'll talk about this more later, but this game did make me think differently than I normally do.
Okay.
And I'll go into that more once we get to the point.
Yeah,
But yeah, that was really funny.
there's some interesting puzzles there, and there's a lot of stuff going on. I think the big thing for me was is like, so get in, and I'm excited, I'm interested, I'm engaged. What is going on? I'm looking around, right? So I put the major elements together. Okay, room to the left, room forward, room to the right. I'm gonna have to go this way. Once I go that way, once I go this way, and I know that I can see it, and I know that everything I need to do is in that room, but when I'm in that room, I completely misinterpret what the issue, like what I need to do.
Right.
I then hard lock into what I think I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
I end up going from excited to bored to frustrated, right? Very, like in a sequence like that. And by
Yeah.
the time I'm frustrated, I am just clicking around the place. Now I have forgotten about that room and I have
Yeah.
moved on and I'm doing what I like to say is like, have you ever seen people when they don't know where to go in like an FPS and they always go backwards,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? They
For sure.
always just like end up being like turn around and they do a 180 and they go into
Yeah.
the room that they were already in where they completed something, like as if that they missed something or something else, but like it's not the case. It's just like it's like bad fundamentals.
Yeah.
It's just like how I've seen player psychology work, and I started doing that, right? So I didn't go from room to room to room so much. I did, but I didn't. I stayed there, but I wasn't observant, right? I stopped being observant, and that's what was my ultimate downfall. Now, what I would say is that there needed to be more key lighting on the train. So the moment that you walk into that room, I don't know if this happens, maybe it does, and maybe I just completely missed it. The train starts working the moment I move into that room, and a light kind of fucking beams onto the thing so that I'm very clear in the moment of, yeah, hey, like something here is important. The room is important, but something here is important. Now I need to go back and see if they actually do that. But that's what I would have aimed to do to try and build that connection of like, hey, like this thing is important. Like go and pay attention to this thing.
Yeah.
Now, what I should have done is paid attention to. It's the only thing that's moving. It's the only thing that's actually animated. It's the only thing that's making sounds within the entire area of that start of the game.
But there are colors everywhere, and that threw me off. There's colors on the
There's
ground. There's
colors on the
colors on the
ground.
posters, and I tried those.
Yeah, exactly. Uh, the colors were very muted, I felt, on the train as well too. So when I looked at it as a player, like I kind of interpreted it all as gray or as one color. So I did not interpret the color until I watched the walkthrough video
Wow.
and
Yeah.
didn't see it. I just didn't see it at all. Like I straight up looked at the thing and just saw train and saw it as like a gray, like
Yeah.
as a gray object, not as like this colored sequence thing. So
But when you loaded back in, did you see the colors, or is it just straight up? Oh,
no,
okay. Okay.
when I went back and like actually opened up my eyes,
Yeah. Yeah.
then I went there. But I mean, this is the thing: is that kids are not constrained by the ideas that come before, right? They are just like wide and awake, and they see what's in front of them. And I think that's one of those things of like, If I was more in the moment and not really in gamer dev brain, do I see it? Do I see it again? Or do I just not see it because of,
Yeah.
just because I didn't see it? You know what I mean? So I'll chalk it down to me on that side. But it is funny that you ran into the same issue for the most part, but was able
Different
to
different angle. Yeah.
to
Yeah.
solve it. All
Yeah.
right. So you
Oh,
get there.
I want to say two things real quick.
Yeah, do.
So first off, I think this is great that two designers are taking like 20 minutes to just talk about the intro sequence. I mean, honestly, I think that's a good thing. You need it.
It's so
The
important.
more, yeah, the more of an eye you have, the more you can chew on. Honestly, one simple thing.
Yep.
But I think the other thing is you're talking about your emotions. I felt the same way. But instead of being excited about the game, I was like fearful and anxious.
Mm-hmm.
But then as I hit walls, funnily enough, the anxiety went away
Oh,
because A, Poppy hasn't jumped at me yet, and then two, I don't care anymore. I'm like, man, I just want to get out of this room. So it's funny how the emotions just dissipate, whether it's a positive emotion or a negative emotion. Your immersion's just like, fuck it. I just want to get this done.
Absolutely. And I think there's a big thing when key art, it's all Poppy, right? So you know that that's going to be the antagonist. That's going to be the thing that's going to come for you. So you know kind of what you're getting into a little bit there as well too, before it happens. So, I think the moment that they introduce the character is a really fucking huge moment, right?
Yeah.
Now, I do want to ask, did you find the VHS
in the left room
in the
or
in the first sequence?
I did. What? Yes, I did. I did.
Okay.
Popped it in. Oh, you missed it.
No, so I missed it for ages. I didn't know it was there. So
wasn't it like close to the VCR?
It's on the table at the reception, but I only found it when I got frustrated and started clicking around. When I started trying to interact with everything that I could, that's when I got to the moment of like, oh, okay, like I can do something here. But some of the things that we would do in regular games, right, is we would make things look more interactable. Halos, hues,
right.
ETUs, right? Like when we're in a more of a tutorial state, more dialogue that pops up as we go. Change the reticle whenever you're on top of something that's actually interactable, right? So like give me a little grab hand or do something. There's a weird thing when you have no hands that you're like, can I interact with something, right? Like can I actually go and do something here?
Yeah.
So I do think that you know what I mean. It's like a thing that you could miss. I definitely think that there's probably a bunch of people who have missed those.
Yeah, I actually want to addend that. So I thought you're talking about the VCR and the TV to the left room, but actually, you're talking the one on the receptionist desk. So after I solved everything, I did not know how to get into the next sequence. So this is the total opposite of you.
Oh.
I was now in the witness mode.
Yeah.
And I didn't think to simply. I mean, I did try. I tried to jump over the rail, but I didn't think to jump on the boxes to jump over it. So I actually got stuck there. I picked up that VCR tape because I got stuck. So you're right. You line up with me, but for different reasons.
Interesting. Yeah. So okay. Well, we go through that. Then we start like moving through into. Did you see the like character through the wall that's just made of donuts, like primitives?
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, through the window where the puzzle, the light puzzle is, like you see what looks like a key light on top of like a pale character, but it's all just primitive pieces, and I was like, yes, just use what you've got, dude. Just use what you've got. You don't need to fucking model a person. Just throw some fucking donuts at it and just make it work, right? Yep. What happens after that? So we go through the light puzzle. We're in a corridor, right? Or is it something else? I can't remember.
Yeah, just a hallway, I thought.
It's a hallway, but there's doors that you are allowed to interact with, and it's your first interaction with.
Oh yeah, so it's a
doors
hub.
that don't open.
That's right. It's a hub, and at the very center is a giant statue of Poppy. And
No, 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 no.
oh, oh,
That's after you. So you have to get your hand first,
oh, okay, yep,
right?
yeah.
So we
Light puzzle. I forgot what that was.
not the light puzzle, but you know
Oh,
the door keypad,
oh, okay,
right?
okay,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
When you take the train color, put it onto that thing, go through, then you go
yep,
and there's another VHS. You get your. It takes a while. You get your first hand. You turn
yes,
around. How do you feel at that moment? Do you feel more secure at that moment? Do you feel powerful? Do you
yeah.
feel more equipped? Like,
So yeah, when I first got that, and when I was watching the tape, I was like, again, I didn't know the mechanic was in the game, so I was like, oh, that's a really cool mechanic, and I absolutely did feel more safety because I now had, I guess, a game to play, which is more my wheelhouse than just running around. How about you?
so I felt like I had a tool. I literally went and said, "Nice," as like almost like Duke Nukem, like getting a big weapon or something. I was like, "Nice, sick, all
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
awesome." So I got it and then instantly ran to the door, like the fastest I could. As soon as I got the thing, I just ran to the door where I knew I needed to go and place that thing. So it was like,
yeah.
okay, great, let's go. Like let's do it. So I had a big sense of elation going into the hub room, right?
I was
Now,
still nervous, but I totally hear you.
so what did you feel? How do you feel about these buttons, right, where you shoot your hand up onto the platform? What do you think about
Yeah.
these?
I was a little bit confused as to all the functionality of the hand, but it felt good. I didn't exactly know why you needed to hold it there. Maybe that I figured there might be sequences where you're being chased and you have like it's really nervous to like slowly open this door. So that's pretty much the main thought that went through my head. How
Exactly.
about you?
Anticipation moment. If
Yeah,
you smash it and then it opens and you run through, you
yeah,
lose a lot of that. Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my
yeah.
god! Go 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 go!
I,
And
w-
it's
I was looking around a little when I had it. The bar was just filling. I was like, okay, what's going
and
on
it
here?
has that little sound effect of
Yeah,
like it, you know what I mean, the little ramp ups, all of these things, all of these do rising tension, right, for me, right? They all rise the tension up to a point where then the door clanks and clanks open, but it clanks open like fast but slow at the same time too. So like it's
yeah,
and in all of those little pieces you are you're breaking this barrier of like shoot, wait, oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god, and then you're at this rise of tension, and then it goes, and you're like,
yeah.
oh, okay, all right, okay, what the fuck is happening next, right? And then you see it. You walk through that room
Yeah.
and you see it. Now, the moment that you see how tall this character is, how big it is, I was very intrigued.
Yeah.
What
And
did?
and for the and for the people that haven't played the game, it's a giant statue of Poppy, but he's inanimate right now. He's
Yes.
just a statue.
Yeah. Now, did you feel a little Mona Lisa effect here? What did you do when you went into this room? Because I can tell you pretty clearly on what I did.
So I was not afraid of it because I figured, you could see it, I could see it was not animated,
Yeah.
but I was like, I think there's a couple times where I like double checked to make sure it wasn't moving. So maybe two, but I wasn't too nervous at this point.
Yeah. So this is our first introduction to the antagonist, right? So, or protagonist or whatever the fuck. The dude who's gonna kill you. The
Mhm.
um, did you go to the button first? What did you do?
No, I ran around the the hub first, and I will say something first about this. It was extremely dark for me. Was it
Oh,
super dark for you?
not like
Okay,
incredibly dark, but like it
right.
wasn't. It wasn't like it wasn't bright. You know what I mean? But it
Yeah,
wasn't incredibly dark.
yeah. So I was super scared and super nervous at this point because it was super dark, but I could not figure out what to do. This is where I looked at the walkthrough. I'm not trying to jump the gun here, but this comes into play.
Okay.
When I looked at the walkthrough, I was like, "Why is this game so bright?" Uh,
Yeah, it looked
I came
completely
back.
different.
Yeah, I came back And when I changed my settings, I had to crank the brightness slider to match what I saw in the YouTube video.
Huh.
And then I could see the room. But I could not see anything. I could barely read the signs. So my experience was
Hmm.
fear, but then it got to confusion and frustration because I didn't know what to do. Uh,
Interesting. Yeah.
other than put my hand there. So
Okay.
then yeah, that was my experience.
No, it's fine. It's just the yeah, like
Yeah.
optimization. I have the same issues for sure, but like not in that room. Didn't feel like I had that
Yeah.
room, but it does look different. My game does look completely different
Yeah.
than when I watched the watch through video. Um, so funnily enough, so I hit an invisible barrier, so I didn't want to go near the character, right? Like my first inkling was to not go near it. My
Yeah.
first inkling was to try and go to every single door and see what I can do, and I tried to go through the outside of the
Yeah.
room to do that. But I hit an invisible barrier, which basically meant in this round, circular room, I was only able to hit a concave about this big in between here. And I basically took that as like a directing post of like, okay, well, this is the only door that I can get to, so therefore I have to go to this. Again, there's a button that's in front of the character that you need to kind of press before anything really kicks off. What I would say is like that did not connect to me why the door unlocks, because the door's not locked first. So I was just like a little bit, I was like, okay, like what's like happening here? I don't want to press that button. The last thing I want to do is press that button. So um I'm watching one of our other videos on my laptop in the background. My bad. Um, I just heard I want my golden nuggies. uh,
All good.
yeah, so the button is there, but it's not keyed off, right? So I think if
Yeah.
this is BioShock Infinite, if this is any of the BioShocks really, right? You have that dark, gloomy area, but the interactable, the thing that I want you to do, the thing I want to drive the anticipation, the thing I know that you as a player don't necessarily want to do, but I want you to do, is touch that button. So I would be making it bigger, brighter, and really pushing that moment of like, hey, touch me. You know you need to like get it over with. Like let's go. You know what something is gonna happen after you press that thing, but like
Yeah.
let's do it.
Okay. Yeah,
Um,
I didn't have that much friction with the button. Though I think I pressed it after I got really lost because I couldn't even see the outside rim until
yeah,
later. So I think I just hit the button because there's like you said, an accidental key light.
yeah. Okay. So we press the button. Some sequence plays. Nothing actually happens on the character the whole time.
Yeah.
At this point, I am trying to see, is the eyes like following me? Like,
Yeah.
am I able to kind of like catch? Am
Oh.
I trying to see, is this thing like, because I know it's alive, right? Like I know it's doing something, but I'm like, is this thing like, is it looking at me? And those anticipation moments are really interesting because if you
Yeah.
kind of know what's going on, it's different than not knowing at all. But you're kind of like, all right, can I find something? It drops the key in, and you use your paw to go and grab it, right? So
Uh
that you
huh.
can go open up the power room.
Wait,
Um,
wait. Is the only reason you saw the key was because you kept looking at the eyes or the
no,
head?
no,
Oh.
this sound effect.
Ah. Okay.
The sound effect was the big one. That was the big key driver for me, where
I
it
see.
sounded like jiggling keys, and I could hear it in the headphones. So I turned around and looked up, and I could see it there. It's also shining a lot more. I think it does actually have a reflective material on it, so it definitely called to me a little bit more than some of the other elements within the sequence as well too.
Oh.
Now, I don't know what you felt at that moment.
For me, when I heard the clanging, I just thought it was like Poppy like walking somewhere. I didn't make the connection, especially because I just have earbuds that don't have any real like left right surround sound. But
Mm-hmm.
I never looked up. It took me a long time to see that key. Actually,
Damn. Yeah.
I didn't have anything that guided me towards it. So
Yes.
so very interesting to see the different experience.
No, and totally, and I could absolutely see that. And when I was playing it, I was like, I don't. You mean somebody could absolutely get lost here, like
Hmm.
on that exact point, because I don't think in for me it's the best connection of like what's locking the door, versus where I'm getting the key from, right?
Hmm.
I think I would have preferred something a little different, but we don't want to put major gameplay in front of the first like sequences and mechanics, right? So there's a play of like, well, Poppy did something, right? Ooh, okay, right. But what's out? What else is it going to do? Um, but it was funny because the character was helpful. You know,
Yeah.
that was the thing that got me. I was like, huh, all right. You know what I mean? Super helpful, awesome, sick. Uh, how far did you end up getting? I guess, or are we
So
gonna? Should we just
I
keep walking
I did
down on?
I didn't get to the red hand, but I mean I think there's still good moments
Okay.
to walk through because the next one was the electricity puzzle, and maybe we don't need to talk about it very much, but I was impressed. I was like, once again, I thought this was a real game, is
Yep.
what it gave to me.
Simple mechanic, very awesome. Did you catch the UI, um, the UI
Yeah, I did.
bits, the element that tells you how long
Yeah,
you can go?
and to explain it to the viewers, so what you need to do is you need to stick your sticky hand onto uh, an outlet, and then you need this thing like bends with you, so you need to like kind of touch these electricity generators. So it's an interesting physics puzzle, and it teaches you what you can really do with this hand.
Gives you a new way to use it for sure.
Yeah, yeah, new way.
The biggest thing I would say is like again coming into that room when we're trying to build anticipation, but also build out the rooms themselves.
Yeah,
The player has to move around the room. So
yeah.
you come in through the doorway, but we have to actually go out and to the right. So now I have two blind spots where I have to be like, what's around this corner? What's around this corner to get into this thing? And as you're walking into that room, it's not like you walk in and see everything, which, as a player, like I'm trying to, or as a dev, like I'm trying to like build anticipation. I've just unlocked a whole new zone for you. The character has gone and helped you to basically unlock that zone. You know it's the power room, but you don't really know what that means at that point. So for the player, it's about, some of it is like, hey, how do we reward discovery? But how do we also then continue to push that element of rising tension? And a lot of that is tighter spaces, right? Here's this bigger room, but we filled it up with a bunch of other stuff, and also we've shown you the end point before we've shown you where you start, right? So you have this moment of like walk in really like observant, like what is this thing? That thing looks like I'm gonna have to do something with it. This looks weird, like this like outlet thing that's over here to the right. Oh my god, what's around the corner? Okay, great. Walk around the corner, walk around another corner. Oh, there's this thing. Shoot my hand, grab it. Oh, the arm is now lit up. Connectivity, cool. I don't see anything that's like really around here, other than this other tower that's mirrored on the other side. Let's go and touch that thing. Oh, that thing lights up and has a sound effect. Okay, cool. Like now we know what's going on there. But the puzzle's not over, so you still have to walk around to the other side again. And we've done this backward step where I've shown you the endpoint. You've kind of wondered about it, thought about, just like had this sense of like maybe that's important later, or maybe that's important now. Maybe you've interacted with it at the start and noticed that there's nothing really happening, but the hand kind of grabs it, but nothing happens. And then you move back around to the front, and then, oh, okay, now I've got it. So that's a great puzzle sequence, especially when we're
Mhm.
starting out and we're onboarding a brand new mechanic. I've shown you where the block goes. I've showed you where the jigsaw piece goes, but I haven't shown you where the jigsaw piece is. So it's if we did that the other way, where I gave you the jigsaw piece, you might try to put that jigsaw piece in 20 different other locations and get a
Oh,
little
yeah,
bit more frustrated by the
yeah,
sense of like, well, where does this puzzle piece go? but I've shown you the puzzle, and then I give you the piece. And now it's up to you to connect that this is actually a puzzle piece, and this goes into this puzzle. And
That was a great breakdown. You are such a level designer because I could not dissect it quite like that.
you're funny.
But yeah, please go on.
No, but so I just like that. I like that as like an onboarding thing. It's the first time you've interacted with this mechanic. It's actually only the second or third time that you've ever had to actively use your hand in a meaningful way. So it was like we're taught about, we're taught about the buttons in the sequence to open up. We're taught about, hey, you're able to grab things from a distance with this thing, and we're able to generate electricity or like move electricity around, right?
Yeah.
Now,
How long did it take you to do that room? It took me 5 minutes. I struggled a bit because I was trying to pick up wires
a
for
minute.
a while.
Yeah, like a minute.
Okay.
Oh.
Yep.
So I tried to do that too. Now that I
Yeah.
think I absolutely did try to do that. It's the lights are red in places, so I'm like, and I see sockets, and I see,
Yeah.
again, I went to Half-Life. I was like, this feels like Half. You know what I mean? A lot of things felt like Half-Life. The I would think of like the Half-Life 2 puzzle, your like electricity puzzle generators, where they're like the little circular things, and you got to stick them into the
Yeah.
slot. So that's how I was like, is that what's going on here? So yeah, definitely did get like kind of hung up on that. But I figured it out, figured it out probably fairly quickly, right? Like
Mhm. Yeah.
quick enough. But some things again, I'm figuring out like interactable elements versus non-interactable elements. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think some of those things that like it's one of those things in the usability testing where you'd be like, maybe we clean those up, you know?
Yeah. You know what? Now that you mentioned that, the interactable. Now the wires didn't really react, but like there's a part where the UI pops up and it says something like I forget. A UI pops
Connectivity,
up.
yeah,
Yeah, but it's like next to a wire. So then I just thought I had to like grab the right wire. So that confused me for a while.
definitely.
But you're a better gamer than I am, apparently. So that is the way.
No, absolutely not. So, at this point, what did you think was going to happen? In so
Uh,
like let's just say like in the other in the main room
yeah.
in the main hub.
I hadn't anticipated anything, but then when I heard some noise, I retroactively thought, okay, now the middle room has like power and can open up a door.
Yeah,
So it was after I heard the noises.
I instantly knew that this character was going to move and disappear.
Oh, I did not anticipate that. I did not.
Yeah, I flat out was like, it's not going to be there. Like it's not going to be there because that's what's going to open up all to the other stuff, and that's what's going to then start building this thing of like, well, where did it go? And but it was a nice moment. I get, I mean, it was one of those ones where I was like, this has to happen. It has to go away because we have to now have this moment again of like, I've seen my enemy, but where is it? And kind of like push from there.
And I didn't know that it was going to be like 20, 15 feet tall. So I thought it was going to be like this tiny puppet. So it's great to like get you that sense of threat. Like this is going to be a 10-foot puppet that chases you around.
So are we coming to the close now of like where you got to?
There's still a little bit. I can narrate a bit
Okay.
because after that it's just you just go through the corridor and there's like some pipes that shoot out steam which continue. This is classic horror movie stuff, which
Classic.
is just noises to build up anticipation.
But it's the first place though that where you're in a tight room again,
Yes.
right? So we have just seen the enemy go away,
Yes.
and all of a sudden we are put in an extremely tight box.
Yes.
And
What were you feeling in that corridor?
yeah, definitely being like, okay, when is this thing coming?
Were you back
Right.
to excitement?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. At that point, because I'm like, okay, I'm in the game. I'm in.
Yeah.
Right. I've beat the tutorial. We're done with that. Now all of
Yeah.
a sudden we're into the real. Now we're pushing, right? And I'm trying to think of like constantly, when is this thing gonna come? When is this
Yeah.
thing gonna come? And I really did like that natural lull, because it doesn't come for a while.
Hmm.
Does not come for a while. That natural lull hits you into that anxiety point where, again, if you're on the emotional curve, right? I open up that door and I first see that thing, boom, big spike, but it deads off very quick because
Yeah.
it's not moving. I know it's not moving. I think it's watching me, but I'm still like very low. But I've gone boom, boom, right, and I'm now here again. I go into the power room. I've kind of forgotten about it. I've finished the puzzle, and then I come out and I'm like half spike. I'm like, okay, it's gone. Where's it gone? Now I go into this room, and it's a very tight knit corridor. There's steam hitting, so now I'm getting rising tension again. I'm getting boom, 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 but I'm getting
Hmm.
it a little bit more, and now the baseline is way higher.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
from where I was in the power room to where I am here is about here, but it's about half of the spike to the
Yeah.
top of the other side.
Yeah.
So
I want to.
yeah,
I want to say a couple points about. So, uh, actually, is it? I'm sorry. It
no,
seemed
go.
like you're about to.
No,
Okay.
no,
Okay.
no.
Um, you made a good point about the corridor being like linear because at that point, funnily enough, I think my anxiety reached a point that was just uncomfortable with dealing. I was like, screw this game. I'm just gonna run forward. But I could only do that because it was a corridor. I think if it was a room, I couldn't really say screw that. But I was just like, I'm just gonna deal with whatever jump scare happens. So I just like
Yeah,
played a faster pace at that point. But I wanna give a deeper takeaway because you said a lot of points that I've heard about before. I've listened to Alfred Hitchcock talk about surprise and suspense.
yeah.
He talks exactly what you said, which is surprise is a big spike, but suspense is this a lingering emotion. And the way you do, there's only one difference between that is information that you give the player. A surprise is when something comes out of nowhere and you didn't really have any information, like a bomb going off. Happens in movies all the time. But suspense is if you see the villain put a bomb with a timer in a car, and then they close the trunk, and you just watch them drive the car. Now the viewer is constantly thinking about the bomb and in suspense about it. So that is the difference between surprise and suspense. And Alfred Hitchcock always says do suspense instead. So
You know it's coming, but you don't know when, and you
yeah,
don't know to what effect. Uh, the nice thing is that things like the steam shooting is almost like comic relief, right?
yeah,
Where
yeah,
like we actually show you, we know, like you know, I mean, in play, in play testing or whatever, you know that players at that point are going to be at this like heightened state of alert, right? Our senses are driving at that moment, or hopefully they are engaged, right? They're locked in, they're in the flow, they're there. I can't see the exit point to this corridor, and it's also the first time I've seen this corridor, and it becomes very important seeing those corridors later on because they become part of the game, right? Um, but it's the first interaction point that I've had with this thing. Tight, small. I've seen the character move, so I'm just that little shot is almost like if you have a nervous disposition that you're going to get hit and then you're going to giggle, and
yeah.
that giggle is going to help to lighten your own load and kind of break your own like okay, all right, fuck you game, fuck you, blah blah blah, like fuck you
Yep.
game, and then you go. When did you discover that you could sprint?
I think early on, actually, in the lobby. How about you?
Yeah, or as soon as I basically got into the game. But
Yeah.
what I found was just that sprinting doesn't seem. There's times where it's seems slower than what it is when you're in other sequences. I do
Wow, that's
feel
clever.
yes. Certain times it does feel like it works more effectively than others. So I do think that there is some background manipulation going on there where it's like if I'm in puzzle sections and it's kind of open and it's kind of like do whatever you need to do to get around, they allow you to kind of sprint at double the pace. When you're
Yeah.
in a more of a chase sequence, they kind of play it down a little bit so you can't it's a little bit more controlled and you feel a little bit more sluggish and slower as well too.
You
I don't know if
reminded me
that's the
of
case.
a quick moment in that corridor.
Hmm.
So I started going down that corridor, and or maybe somewhere else, but I started to slow down and stop moving. I thought I was being grabbed, but actually my hand was still attached to like some keypad. So that was an organic moment,
That's funny.
similar to what you said about slow down.
I like
Yeah.
that. That's funny.
And just to explain how far I got into the next room where you have to get 4 cubes,
Yes.
and I could not find the 4th cube, and that is where we ended before we had to do the podcast.
Oh, damn. Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So funnily enough, we're in that room. There's another VHS tape that you're supposed to find. These are like collectible
Oh,
backstories.
couldn't find it.
No, I didn't find it either. This is one of these things of rewarding exploration. I think rewarding exploration with story. It's not necessarily impetuous that you have to get it to like learn the puzzle or learn anything more. It just gives you more about the background of the world, which I think is great, especially when you're already in a like searching sequence. I did feel like that was kind of like a dead room. I didn't really feel like I was like learning anything other than I was learning about these cubes. I did find the cubes fairly quickly, mind you.
Okay. Yeah.
But I didn't put two and two together with the panel switch and the cubes. And what I was really trying to figure out was like, hey, I just got these things. But they went into my inventory, and I kept getting this interesting flash every single time that I would grab a cube. In the top left hand corner of my screen, there was like this, just
Uh-huh.
like a little flash of light. And what
Yeah.
I found out though is that if you press escape and then look at, there's like a little slide in tab on the left hand side that comes in. The very top bar is items. So I think that it's one of those things where like in mobile we would do the same thing. I think that this is like great whenever you're doing dubers or reward collection, is animate that object to where it should go in the bar, right? So if you have an inventory button on your HUD on your main screen and you've just collected a reward, got a duber, and that thing should go and animate to the inventory so that you build that connection of where that thing went. And I think that was a little bit like that when I was doing it. So I just kind of like impetuously put those things together. As soon as I got the cubes, then I knew that I had to go and place them into the things. But I was like, oh, okay, am I gonna have to put this in like a sequence? Do I even have 4 of them? I didn't know that I had 4 of them, so that was like, I was like, So I went back and like and put them in, and I'm like, oh, okay. And then again, I get to the control panel. I don't really have anything that tells me that this is like that there's interactivity here, or I can place.
That's correct. That's correct.
Some of these things I would say I'm glad that it's not, because this is a direction that could have been gone in a more physicsy based simulation like this, where the hand goes out and grabs the cube now is a physical object within my hand, and now I have to go back, run up the staircase, and put it into the slot,
Right.
and kind of keep doing that to finish. I think a lot of games would have gone down that route, but we're talking about an experience built by one person very quickly, not very quickly, but quick enough that we're trying to get the communication, get the point across. So an inventory system just becomes like a lot of a lighter experience there. But it does try to teach you that, like, hey, like again, like the VHS, like there's an inventory system here. There's you can hold on to different things. So I think that like that was like an interesting, again, like teaching moment for me. But
Uh, it, we timed this episode perfectly because I basically ended my playthrough right there, and we're almost done with the pod. But I think it's we're always trying to do generalized takeaways here, and I think it's interesting that when players reach obstacles, their behavior changes. Like you said, sometimes they run to the back and try to re-examine. Maybe they miss something. But one revelation I had, because I could not find the 4 cubes, I only found 2 for the longest time. Um, I started like it took me a while, but I started jumping on the boxes. I was like, oh, of course I'm supposed to jump on the boxes and get on this conveyor, which is not the case. But I remember thinking how it took me that long to think like an FPS gamer or even a kid, because I've seen my nieces play um, a lot of Roblox games, and they naturally jump like it's an obstacle course.
yeah.
And I did not even think that something would be hidden like that. So I started jumping on the boxes and placing them. So anyway, I just thought that was interesting because it was not a natural mode of thinking for me. Um, and because I ran into this giant obstacle, I started exploring different avenues of play and exploration for exploration.
So this
So
is the thing I would also ask you as well too. Like, where is your mental state at this point?
I
Right.
was
So
very relaxed because I've been in this room for 10 minutes
yeah,
and nothing has grabbed me, so I was very relaxed.
yeah. And this is the fun thing about emotional states and also suspense baselines and stuff like that, right? We've come through that corridor and we're at like a heightened state of alert. We've had a little
Yeah,
spike
yeah,
because of the steam, but then we move into this puzzle room and we've spent time here.
yeah,
At this point I have completely forgotten about the hub room. I have
exactly.
completely forgotten that I've seen Poppy run away. I've
Yep.
completely forgotten that that character is even out there. I am just
This,
now engrossed in the puzzle that's in front of me. And my actual suspenseful baseline is completely reset. I'm down at the bottom base again. Is that good? Is that bad? I think that that's, in a lot of ways, can be really good because forgetting that the character exists almost sets you up for this moment of like, holy shit, remember
yes,
that. Do you remember the fucking thing that's actually supposed to be
yes.
coming after you, right?
For the
Like,
first few minutes, I did think all my attention was set on these puzzles, and that a jump scare was really gonna knock me over. And that's no different than Street Fighter. When in Street Fighter, they do all this stuff on the ground so that when they jump, they completely surprise you and jump in on you. It's like the same attentional thing. So, but again, after like 10 minutes, I was like, okay, nothing's gonna happen.
no,
But you're dead on.
but I'll leave it with that little sprig of something where it is there's something to be said about that moment where any player, if you had already known about the game but didn't know about the puzzle or didn't know about any of the things, but you knew about the character, you knew about the game, you knew what was going to happen maybe later on or something, or if you didn't know anything at all, that moment and that timeline from the corridor into that room to the puzzle resets that mindset and makes everybody on an even keel going
Nice,
forward into the next thing.
nice.
So thinking about those lines of like, how can I go and keep players within the experience, but keep them out of the line of fire a little bit. You don't have to go and always have them there. The lack of an antagonist, the lack of a problem, the lack of something else, or a different thing that I have to concentrate on, something completely different to the problem space in front of me,
Yeah.
helps to try and break, like to build a different kind of connection barrier, forget about it, wipe the slate, so that everybody coming into the next sequence is going to feel the same way.
Sean, that is a brilliant connection. I love it. That was wonderful. It
Yeah.
makes me think about other things. Sorry to do another Street Fighter analogy, but I've been playing it because of these damn
'Cause
tournaments.
you're an absolute
But
beast, and you're number 4
yeah,
in the entire North America,
as long as I
and
don't
won't
keep,
go to a tournament and won't go and try and win Evo for $1 million.
yeah, we'll see. I'm having too much fun trolling. But an interesting thing about Street Fighter 6 is that the pros, there's a very strong mechanic that beats everything else, but it's easy to counter. It's called Drive Impact. But the pros can't counter this. You would think, okay, these guys play all the time, they can do it. But I'll just say that the way the game is designed, your attention resources are always maxed.
Mhm.
So it's so great to watch these people that have been playing pro for 20 years. They still fall for this simple mechanic. So it's the same idea. Even though there are people who are experts at horror games, we still have, you know, limited attention resources. So if you know how to direct that, man, you can really create great experiences for everyone, not just somebody that always plays them.
Deception plays multiple ways, right? That's what I would say. Is that you can the designer is deceiving the player in
Yeah,
thinking about this one individual goal, where it's not really a big thing. It's like I'm in a room and I gotta find 4 cubes, but I've completely been deceived into being like, well,
yeah,
no, that's my object number 1. this is the most important thing to me now. Everything else is just washed away.
Yeah.
And in that deception, I will be turned on my head later on again.
Yeah.
So again, excitement, suspense, all of these things, all of these emotional curves are all about the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. It's the delta between them and how you push players around the box from the highest of highs to the lowest of lows is the way that you go and build these anticipation moments, build the best suspense, put the player into the position that you want them to be. So thinking about the game as you go through with those curves, those ideas, that emotional side of things, that'll help you to analyze and break down this game. I'm looking forward to playing it more. I'm a little bit further along. I actually recorded myself and the girlfriend getting caught. So I have our first moments of getting caught that I might splice in somewhere else later on.
Yeah, I was recording mine, but I kept getting stuck, and then I was like, oh,
I look like a dumbass gamer.
Yeah. But now I think I have a grasp on the game, and I'm probably gonna record from where I'm at. So
yeah,
I agree that the game is a lot better than I expected.
Great.
Way better.
We need to keep playing it. It's not that long. We should try to blow through it and get through it. I will say, I was less scared at PT than I was at this game. Now, I'm not frightened, but definitely some of the jump moments are definitely bigger. But so I think that there's some interesting stuff on all of this. But cool. It's nice to just like sit down and get into something brand new and feel out a new process. So, do we know who the hell made this thing? Some 16 to 18-year-old kid who like who's done more and made more money in the industry than I'll ever make. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Good for them, dude. Good for them.
Yep.
The absolute final point, I think that this is an interesting crossover. We talked about this last year of like what was our overarching thinking of games and everything else, what would do well. If you look at the economics of this game series, this one experience that's about 3 hours, 2.5 hours, 3 hours long, spawned off Chapter 1, now is built in Chapter 2, has then now got its own secondary games, has got its own world building, has now built off into a whole like plushie line, and there's merchandise, and there's this whole greater world that people have like built around. Yeah. So again, when we were talking about building small core experiences that drive the ideas that you really want to drive, your game does not have to be huge. It just needs to get across something and hopefully build into something else. So we can always be thinking as portions and not necessarily these whole hog 3-year extreme, gotta build everything, gotta have the whole feature set out. No, just what is core, cut to the bone, find it, build it as easy as possible, playtest, and you will see as you refine where that thing goes.
And to give some final numbers, Poppy Playtime Chapter 1, it is a free game. Chapter 2, it's $10. It made a bit over $1 million. Just
Hallelujah.
Some context.
Hallelujah. 30% dev cut. That's a nice little chunk of change right there. You've built your franchise, you've bootstrapped your first fucking product, and you've moved yourself into the echelons of indie glory and fame. Fair play.
Right.
It's awesome. Right on to everybody else that's trying that. So that's all I got.
That's all I got. I was going to ask you when Poppy actually jumps out at you, but...
You'll find out soon. You'll find out soon. I'm not fucking telling you. You know where it is. You know when it's coming.
All right.
You do know when it's coming.
I'll record it.
Yeah, you know when it's coming.
All right.
Great. Thank you, everybody.
Yep.
Come on. How are we going to end this? End.